All right, welcome back. Now, after months of operational crisis, Arik Air, Nigeria's largest domestic airline, has now been effectively taken over by the asset management company of Nigeria, AMCON. The airline has been battling a huge debt burden, which has taken a massive toll on its operations. The airline is reportedly indebted to AMCON to the tune of 135 billion naira. It is also indebted to service providers like NCAA, NAMA, FAN, and its staff, who have not been paid for several months. Not quite long ago, labor unions picketed the airline's headquarters in Lagos, demanding the payment of backlog of salaries. Now, the Nigerian government has announced a lifeline to keep the airline in operation. AMCON said the decision to intervene clearly underscores the government's commitment to instill sanity in the country's aviation sector to prevent a major catastrophe in the country. Now, last December, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority slammed the airline with a $6 million fine and also ordered Arik to pay $150 as compensation to each affected passenger whose luggage were left in the flight from London to Lagos on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of December 2016. The NCAA had also directed the airline to pay affected passenger the sum of $150 each as compensation for inconveniences suffered as a result of the delayed arrival of their luggage within 30 days of the date of the letter. Now, many Nigerians too have had bitter experiences with flight delays and outright cancellation by the airline in recent times, which has raised suspicion of stakeholders that all is not well with Arik Air. AMCON, in a statement by a spokesperson, says its takeover of Arik Air will enable the airline go back to regular and undisrupted operations, avoid job losses, protect investors and stakeholders' funds, as well as ensure safety and stability in the already challenged aviation sector. Now, under the new arrangement, the airline would be managed by Roy Ilegbodu, a veteran aviation expert, under the receivership of Oluseye Okpesoya, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Aviation expert Benga Olowo now joins me to take a closer look at the dramatic development in the country's aviation industry. So thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you, sir, what exactly do you make of this takeover by AMCON? Does it come to you as a surprise at all?
The takeover by AMCON, I will say, is not a surprise because we have emphasized many times that the health of the Nigerian airlines is questionable. The economic health is questionable and very doubtful. The Nigerian airlines in the past so many years have been sick, and we've recommended to government many times that anybody that is sick needed attention. Sometimes you might even need surgical operation. If the essence of regulation is to make sure that a particular industry survives, then regulation should have seen that in the past 40 years in this country, regulation has failed stimulating the aviation sector. From the failure of the national carrier Nigeria Airways to the private sector operation, I think we have seen about 4 different phases, 4 different cycles now, beginning from the days of Cabo to Okada, to the ADCs, to the Chachangis, and this is like the 4th cycle. We've seen about 8 airlines right now that are still sick in their 5 to 10 years of operation. Meaning that in Nigeria, the lifespan of Nigerian airlines is between 5 to 10 years, and another cycle is emerging. So something is fundamentally wrong in our environment. And we've said many times that government should get serious about aviation. And so the takeover of Arik by AMCON is not a surprise at all. The airlines are very weak economically, and we know why they are weak. It is not essentially poor management, but to a very large extent, it is the environment of doing business in Nigeria.
In fact, I was going to ask you what you think, why you think Arik did not do so well. I mean, it started on a very promising note, and along the line, things just wasn't going too well with it.
Yeah, Arik is not an exception. If you flash back, almost all the airlines that start in this country, they start so well. They have very robust business plans. And within the first 5 years, the graph will be upward. It will be positive, good service, and things will be going on well, while the original capital is melting down. And within 5, 7, 8 years, you see things changing. So Arik is not a different story from the 3 cycles that we've seen in the last 10, 30 years. So they started very well, like any typical business in Nigeria. But by the time the business is choked in the environment that we operate in, let me tell you precisely, you cannot be a good student if you don't go through an experience. Experience is the best teacher. Ask those people who ever run airline in this country and ask for their story. It's a story of woe. They start well. Richard Branson started very well Air Nigeria, and in 5, 6 years, that beautiful operator and businessman left Nigeria. And when he was leaving, he said the Nigerian politicians are destiny destroyers. So operating business in this country, the business environment is very hostile. And regulation is not sensitive to these issues. I'm not making a standing brief for Arik, but I am quite aware of the difficult situations the airlines are operating in. The many charges that are out there, and all that you hear from regulation is that airline is owing, go pay your debt, go pay that debt. What is the essence of all these debts? Are these debts justifiable? If they are justifiable, are they reasonable to business? Let me tell you, the airline business world over, there's a very thin line between losses and profit all over the world. It's a very thin line. And in this country, when airlines start very well, in 5, 6 years, everything goes the other way around. And the airlines, you see them falling after one another. So the environment is highly, highly unfavorable to do business. And like I've said in the past, given the environment that we have in Nigeria today, if we give birth to a national carrier tomorrow, in 5, 6 years, that airline will fail Nigeria. So we need to go back to table and look at the environment of doing this business. What is killing our airlines in Nigeria? What is the problem? The tariff that the Nigerian airline charge, an aspect of that tariff is about 23% goes to taxes, various charges. When you remove 23 out of 100, you have about 77 left. This 77 may not cover cost of operation. And that is a very major issue. So I hope AMCON, I heard that you said AMCON is coming into Arik, either as a receiver or a turnaround. I hope it's not coming into Arik as an undertaker. The experience of AMCON with Aero is not palatable with us, and we don't want AMCON to take Arik and be an undertaker to Arik. If AMCON is coming in there, just like what the reform that happened in the bank, when we ended up with very solid banks in Nigeria during that particular regime, if AMCON is coming in there to see 2 to 3 strong players in the market, that will be positive. We would not want AMCON to come into the sector and be an undertaker and bury the Nigerian airlines.
I was actually going to ask you what difference you think AMCON was going to make, considering the fact, as you have pointed out, that the business environment, the aviation business environment is a very difficult one. And of course, I mean, you went down memory lane to point out how some of the airlines that actually started on a promising note eventually went under. So I was just wondering how things would be different for Arik now with AMCON on board.
Yeah, definitely we need to tackle AMCON here. We need to see what is the objective of AMCON here. We are very interested to know what is the objective, what's the intention. The intention must not be to be an undertaker. The intention must be to give back to 2 to 3 strong players in the market. And I know this is quite possible if we will look robustly into the issues that is plaguing these airlines. The issues are so many, we can't discuss that on the in front of a camera. We need to sit down around a table and identify those issues. Policy and government must listen to those issues. The ones that have been resolved and gazetted must be implemented. A lot of things have been gazetted, they are not implemented. So the airlines are bleeding all through. Okay, I'm not standing brief, but I do know so much that the airlines are bleeding and somebody must listen to them. And that revolves around the weakness of the Economic Regulation Department of CAA to bring this to the forefront and let governments see the problems they are facing, and if need be, AMCON should put these airlines into Chapter 11 or Chapter 12, set the debts aside, and let them begin to run smoothly. This debt will be serviced when the business does not go down. Airlines outside Nigeria, they go to Chapter 11, Chapter 12 from time to time so that they can restructure and move the business forward.
Let's just hope that things go well with this takeover. The most important thing everybody wants to see Arik become a better, airline, and people actually love that airline. Nobody wants it to die, and let's just hope AMCON will ensure that it doesn't die, as the government has been saying. The Minister of Aviation, State for Aviation now, has actually said the government decided to intervene to save Arik and to keep the Arik Airlines planes now in the sky. Let's just hope that's what happens.
Yeah, I do hope that AMCON is not in the airline for that kind of global embarrassment to Nigeria. I think this is a very bad news for Nigeria, and we must sit back and address the issue very critically and see the airline fly the very next moment.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you very much for your thoughts. Well, that's it on the program. If you want to watch it again, it's simple. Just visit our website. It's tv360nigeria.com. You'll find this program and lots more there. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. The address is youtube.com/TV360Nigeria. You can get this video and lots more. And you can join us on Google+. That's at TV360Nigeria. Or like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360online. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at TV360Online. Well, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.